In the great American West, there lived a man known as one of the greatest Native American warriors of all time. His name is Geronimo, and his story is one of brave struggle and perseverance in the face of great difficulties. Geronimo was a leader of the Chiricahua Apache tribe who fought fiercely against encroachment by white settlers and the U.S. government in the late 1800s. In this video, we will explore the real-life story of the legend of Geronimo and the enduring resistance of the Apache people. Remember to hit the like button because it helps us a lot. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell to not miss the upcoming interesting videos. The very name Geronimo conjures up the image of a fearless Native American warrior. Born in No-doyohn Canon, Arizona, in June 1829, Geronimo belonged to the Bedonkohe Apache tribe, a fierce and proud people who lived in harmony with the land. He was the fourth child in a family of 4 boys and 4 girls. He was called Goyathle. At the age of 17, Geronimo proved his courage and was accepted into the Council of Warriors, which allowed him to marry. He married a woman named Alope, and they had 3 children together. In the mid-1850s, Geronimo's tribe, who had lived in peace with neighboring Indian tribes and Mexican towns, arrived in Old Mexico. They camped outside a Mexican town called Casquille, where they stayed for a few days. Leaving a few warriors to guard the camp, the remaining men went into town to trade. But when they returned from town, they ran into some women and children, telling them that Mexican troops had attacked their camp. They returned to camp. The once peaceful scene was now stained with the blood of slain warriors, their horses, and supplies and weapons gone. But what was even more unbearable was the loss of their loved ones. Goyathle's wife, mother, and 3 children were among those killed, leaving him with a lifelong hatred of Mexicans. This devastating event transformed Goyathle from a peaceful Indian into a brave warrior. He began joining the ferocious Chiricahua Apache and led numerous raids throughout northern Mexico, in what is now Arizona and New Mexico. He was nicknamed the legendary Geronimo by his Mexican enemies. When white settlers began invading Apache territory, Geronimo stood up to fight both them and the Mexicans. He is determined to protect his people at any cost. But times of peace finally came when Lieutenant Colonel George F. Crook was appointed commander of the Arizona Department. He was able to establish relative peace in the region, but unfortunately, his successors were unable to maintain that peace. In 1876, when the United States government decided to relocate the Chiricahuas from their ancestral lands to the San Carlos Reserve, a harsh, desolate place known as Hell's 40 Acres. Stripped of their traditional tribal rights, without proper food, and homesick, they rebelled against the government. Geronimo, their leader, encouraged hundreds of Apaches to leave the reserve and flee to Mexico, continuing the war against the whites. For the next 10 years, Geronimo and his followers conducted raids on white settlements, interspersed with periods of peaceful farming on the San Carlos Reserve. In 1882, General George Crook was summoned to Arizona to wage a campaign against the Apaches. Geronimo surrendered in January 1884. However, rumors of trials and hangings caused Geronimo to flee the San Carlos Reserve on May 17, 1885. He was with 35 warriors and 109 men, women, and children. During this final operation, at least 5,000 white soldiers and 500 Indian aides were deployed at various times to capture Geronimo's small group. 5 months and a lot of effort, they finally found Geronimo's camp deep in the Sonora Mountains of Mexico. Geronimo, the legendary Apache warrior, was exhausted and frustrated. He finally accepted his surrender on March 27, 1886, at the Cañón de los Embudos in Sonora, Mexico. His band consisted of a number of fighters, women and children, including a white boy named Jimmy Santiago McKinn, who had been kidnapped 6 months earlier. The boy had become too integrated with the Apache way of life. Although he was rescued, he cried when he was forced to leave. General Crook, who led the team that captured Geronimo, was led by Tombstone's renowned C.S. Fly photographer, who has taken some of the most famous photographs in American history. After being captured, the group begins their journey to Fort Bowie, Arizona, but Geronimo fears for his and the group's safety as they enter U.S. territory. As a result, he captured Chief Naiche, along with 11 warriors and some women and children who quickly escaped to the Sierra Madre Mountains. Geronimo's daring escape led General Nelson A. Miles to replace Crook as commander on April 2, 1886. The promises of the U.S. government to Geronimo were nothing but lies. After surrendering at Skeleton Canyon in Arizona in 1886, General Miles persuaded Geronimo and his followers to surrender again by promising that they would be allowed to return to their homeland in Arizona after an indefinite exile in Florida. However, as history has shown, this promise was never fulfilled. Geronimo and his fellow prisoners were taken from their homeland and transported by truck to Florida for imprisonment and hard labor. They are forced to work continuously with poor living conditions. In 1894, Geronimo was transferred to Fort Sill in the Oklahoma Territory. Despite his efforts to fit in by working as a farmer and joining the Dutch Reformed Church, but he was expelled from the church due to his gambling addiction. As the years passed, the warrior Geronimo's stories of bravery turned him into a legend that appealed to non-Indians as well. He has also become a popular person at fairs and performances. He sold his souvenirs and photos and even appeared on Wild West shows alongside other famous Native American characters like Sitting Bull and Chief Joseph. These performances, which reenacted historical battles and introduced races of the Indians, attracted a large audience. Live buffaloes and celebrities added to the excitement, and Geronimo was one of the most photographed Native Americans of his day. He also appeared in exhibitions in Omaha, Buffalo, and St. Louis. Geronimo wrote his memoir, published in 1906 as Geronimo's Story of His Life. Geronimo's life ended tragically in February 1909. After falling from his horse on his way home, he lay out in the cold all night, and when a friend found him, he was gravely ill. Geronimo died of pneumonia on February 17, 1909. As he lay on his hospital bed, he expressed deep regret over his decision to surrender. His last words to his grandson, "I should never have surrendered. I should have fought until I was the last man alive." It was a heartbreaking end for a warrior who fought so bravely for the freedom of the Indians. Geronimo is buried at Apache Cemetery in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Geronimo's legacy as a legendary warrior lives on to this day. His life and struggles have inspired countless people. Geronimo's story is a reminder that even in the face of the toughest challenges, you can still fight for what you believe in and make a difference in the world. Please like and share if you find the video content interesting and useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment below so as not to miss the upcoming interesting videos. Thanks for watching.